Hey, all you podcast listeners, you can find Slice of the Paranormal everywhere podcasts are found, or you can watch us on our YouTube channel.
Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome to the podcast. This is Slice of the Paranormal. I'm Ryan. This is my friends Christy.
Hello.
And Steve, our resident
Hello.
historian slash geek.
That's right.
This podcast, we talk about paranormal mysteries, historical, all kinds of stuff.
Aliens. Cryptids.
Creepy trees, kids drowning in lakes, so that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. A little bit of lake action.
Yeah, a little bit of lake action. I mean,
Speaking of lakes, you guys, I won't talk long on this, but did you see the aliens coming out of the water stuff in the news?
I have not caught
seen this?
all that yet.
Every country, every continent has said that they have evidence, and never mind. It's all about aliens coming out of the water, coming out of our planet.
So they wouldn't really be aliens then, right?
Wow.
Because if they're from our planet, they're not
Depends on
alien.
how you determine that word, but yeah, unidentified.
Right.
And
So it's not a UAP
these.
if it goes under the water. Like, is there another name for it when it's like...
They've been calling them UAPs.
Are they still UAPs? Because
yeah.
it's unidentified aerial phenomenon.
But they're in the air, but they come out of the water, so I don't know what that is. Yeah.
It's got to be a different like level of...
They said the speed. And the other thing, and I know I'm all over the place, but the other thing that's freaking me out is at the same time I'm talking about these aliens, this is in the government right now talking about it, I'm also not talking about what height flying cars should be able to go to safely. So are we reverse engineering this alien technology right now and starting to process this stuff? I don't know. I don't want to go down the wrong path here at the beginning, but my brain's been there ever since I learned this news.
Well, flying cars would be incredibly unsafe, I would imagine. Like, what kind of rules would they even have for that?
I would be walking
like
around
Jetsons
like,
highways.
looking up, waiting for idiots to fall from the sky.
Right?
All the time.
Yeah. I think it would happen all the time, yeah.
Yep.
No.
But I'm excited for that future someday.
All right, so we'll have to start looking for craft coming out of lakes and I'm
At
assuming
least in the oceans. I'm guessing the
mostly
ocean.
oceans.
Yeah, that thing is scary. The ocean is way scarier than space, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
They say when
Especially
you're down in the
after
ocean,
what?
it feels like space.
The Ocean Gate implosion thing.
Well, and the whole thing where NASA used to, look in the ocean, and then they're
And
like,
now they don't.
let's not do that anymore.
Right.
Let's look in space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Anyway, I'll stop. I'm sorry.
well, that's fine.
I'll do that on our own time. I won't do that on the podcast. But
Well,
today we're talking about what, Mr. Steve?
We're talking about Ricketts Glen, and obviously it's got a little bit of a holiday theme today. I mean, we're, at the Christmas
Gearing
season.
up for the holidays.
I got my...
We're just a week before Christmas right now. You got your eggnog?
Got my eggnog. And before we get to the Christmas part of the story,
I got my spirits.
we went to what? We went to Ricketts Glen. And,
Ricketts Glen, Pennsylvania.
which most people know Ricketts Glen as the state park with the waterfalls.
That's where you go to walk a whole bunch of
there's
waterfalls.
the waterfalls, there's Lake Jean. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Ricketts was actually a town north of the park, and it was the town of Ricketts. And it was essentially a giant logging town.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you told me. That
so
was very
like-
interesting.
Before we went to the park, we checked out the ghost town of Ricketts.
Right. Which was nothing.
It's known for the park's known for like old growth forest. Like, even though they logged the town part, the guy that owned the land didn't log near the waterfalls. So, and he's also the guy that built
protected land.
all those trails that we all walk along when we do
Yeah.
Falls Trail. Mm-hmm. He's the dude that made those trails.
So for those that don't know, it's a how long hike?
Okay, it's really weird. Like, Ricketts Glen compromises like 4 counties. It's so large. So it's Sullivan, Wyoming, Luzerne, and Columbia County, PA. So
That is big.
It's a big area, and it's has 21 named waterfalls along Falls Trail, and this is all along a place called.
Is that on that map you gave me?
It's in the map.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all the waterfalls are all following Kitchen Creek. which is the stream. A guy named Robert Bruce Pickett's operated a hotel there from 1873 to like 1903.
And what was his last name?
Ricketts,
Oh,
oddly
Ricketts.
enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Hard to, guess. And he built trails along the waterfalls, and he owned about 80,000 acres, which is a ton of land. But he preserved 2,000 acres of virgin forest, which is now the park. Okay, so he dies in around 1918.
What's weird is they don't spell it with an apostrophe. They spell it Ricketts S.
Yeah, there's no apostrophe in the Ricketts. It's just Ricketts.
They don't want to give him. Okay.
He doesn't own it.
It's not his.
No.
It ain't his.
So after his death, his family deeds the property of the park to the state of Pennsylvania, and that's how we have Ricketts Glen State Park. So, but going back to this ghost town, there's almost nothing there. I mean, I took you guys there.
Yeah.
I showed you the pump house.
Which
Look,
is
that
tiny.
area was beautiful, by the way. It was not only the time of year, it's like end of fall here for us, but like when we went.
Yeah.
But it's just the rocks coming out of the ground. It's like you're up in these extreme heights and stuff. It's cool. It's a cool area.
Yeah, I mean, the elevation is pretty up there, and you'd randomly would see like foundation stones if you walk through the ghost town of Ricketts. We stopped at the pump house, which is the first thing you can see, like right by the road.
Yeah.
You know.
Here, I'll pull a picture of the pump house.
And the reason we were stopping at the pump house is because near the pump house is the lore of the ghost tree. So the ghost tree, the story comes from Ghost of Penn's Woods by Jeffrey R. Frazier, and the book came out in 2012. And he goes through all these different state parks and talks about the ghost lores.
That's cool.
About the sites. So I checked out this book, and
Of course you did.
That kind of led me to trying to figure out who this guy is. So the ghost tree is related to a death. So obviously the first step is, well, who the hell died there?
Yeah.
You know? So the known fatalities are...
There's more than one?
Number one is Frank Farrell.
Okay.
He was crushed by a maple tree in 1891.
Not a way to go.
Second choice is Lincoln Ross, who fell off a railroad car in 1892. Now, the person that dies supposedly dies by a tree. So we're going to just scratch Lincoln Ross.
He might be a little too far
off.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's probably not him.
It's a wandering ghost.
Then there's William Green. William Green died from a gash to his shoulder in June of 1892. And then Michael Shea dies a very similar way in 1893.
Gashes to
To
their
the shoulders?
shoulders?
Yeah, I mean, you're cutting down trees, guys. You got saws, trees come down,
Yeah.
and if you misjudge it, you might be under the damn tree.
Fair enough.
Okay.
So they're all, I gotcha.
So there's deaths here. And in fact, years ago, I think around 2015, my ghost hunting team, Coal Region Paranormal team, did investigations at the site for the park rangers. And the park rangers, showed us around and told
At
us
the
about-
request of the park rangers? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, we did a thing for the public where we did our own ghost hunt, and then we did a public ghost hunt for the park.
That's awesome.
So that the public could come and experience the ghost town of Ricketts.
Nice.
So the ranger was telling us stories about the pump house, and she said that they randomly find things there, and there's still stuff just laying around. I mean, we were out there. I saw a bucket.
Yeah.
From the early 1900s. But she said they found a jar, and the jar had human finger bones in it. And I'm thinking
In the pump house?
in the ground near the pump house.
Wow.
So, my theory is if you have a lumber business in the middle of Pennsylvania, nowhere, you don't got a hospital near you. You do have a doctor, but it's just one guy.
Yeah.
My theory is if you're a new employee, they would show you the jar of finger bones and be like, hey, watch what you're doing.
This
watch
is what can happen
This
if
is
you're
what
not
can happen.
careful.
These are the
Yeah.
days before OSHA.
Oh, scare you
So
straight.
I think it was scare you straight and keep you...
What if they just hung on to them when they lost them? They're just like,
I kind of want my finger.
I don't want to throw that out.
I don't
What
know.
if somebody needs that someday?
If you're an old school logger, though, maybe you're like, I want to help out the younger generation to not be waving with 4 fingers.
Your theory's probably right.
You know, or I guess it'd be 3 fingers and my thumb. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the ghost tree, getting back to that, not knowing if it's Frank, William, or Michael.
Right. Those are the 3 best guesses.
Those are the 3 best candidates. But the story goes that an older brother brought his younger brother out to help log. And it was his younger brother's first time out there. And they're cutting down a tree, and the tree falls down and lands on the younger brother.
Okay.
So the other workers are alerted to the tragedy because they hear the cries and the screams of the older brother because the younger brother is killed instantly. So the legend of the ghost tree is that either someone planted a tree near the pump house where this kid was killed, or a sapling grew up in the area where the kid died.
Okay.
So the weird thing about the tree is it's white,
And
and it doesn't have any berries. It
doesn't
have
grow any
leaves.
foliage, but it's not dead.
It's not dead, but it's not growing anything either.
Yeah, it's kind of
But
strange.
it's what, like by the image, we have an image of it. It's like 20 feet tall, but it's got nothing to it. Like, it's not generating its own energy,
but it's not dead.
but it's not dead.
But we looked for it and could not find it.
Yeah, we couldn't find it.
Every tree, when we were out there, every tree was kind of like whitish colored. It was kind of dead.
Yeah, there were a bunch of trees that are whitish colored. It
Yeah.
was cold.
It was so cold and
rainy.
windy.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
We
fell
did look. You
randomly.
He didn't tell
Yeah,
us.
he did fall.
He didn't tell us, but he fell.
Yeah.
But-
I think only one person saw, so you're good.
Yeah, but the local lore is that people would randomly hear the older brother's cries near the area of the pump
Yeah.
house.
That's a sad one.
Bless his heart.
So we did try. We put out a K2 meter.
We did.
A ghost box, and we were trying to see if there was any.
We tried some ghost
Little ghost hunting, a little
Yeah.
bit on a cold day, but
and in
investigation.
all honesty, like there was nothing.
nothing.
nothing. We gave it a fair shot too.
And
Yeah.
we called out all 4 of these guys' names. Didn't get any responses.
No little blips.
So we didn't see any signs of life or
Death.
Nothing.
So we kind of moved on. We go to Lake Jean. Now, Lake Jean is actually in the park proper. It's just north of the 21 named waterfalls. And Lake Jean is really popular. Like, people go there to swim during the summer. They have a little food area where you can get like ice cream, and when it's hot, it's really awesome.
It's a decent sized lake.
It is. And there's a lot of camping along what's a peninsula that goes out into the middle of the lake. And I think the road's called Camper's Loop. And
Is that where we drove out on there?
we drove out on Camper's Loop. And the story of the ghost that haunts there is actually revolving around Camper's Loop.
Oh, not Lake Jean. It's in.
It's actually Lake Jean, but there was once a family named the Getz family. The Getz family lived along in a cabin out on this peninsula. Now, we don't know where, because I've reached out to the park rangers to find out, like, where was it located? Are there any foundation stones? And they said, we have no clue.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny email.
Yeah, like
Steve emails the park rangers because he's got all this information, and they email back saying, "We don't know
We don't
anything."
know. You know more than we do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I knew about the ghost lore. They didn't know about the ghost lore. I knew about the Getz family. They didn't know about the Getz family. I knew about the history of the pump house and the severed fingers. Like, literally, some of the knowledge I have, they don't have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to craft an email. I'm going to actually send it to the park rangers because
well, he's very nice.
he was extremely nice. And I think that any knowledge that we have, we should share with the park.
Sure.
So that they have it for their records.
Yeah.
And anything that makes the story of Ricketts that much more cool, might as well, hook them up.
I love it.
Did the Getz family live there when it was still a town?
We're not sure. We think it's the 1800s. It's not pinpointed the actual time, but everything seems to be that they would have lived there either at the time of the town or maybe a little bit before.
Okay.
So they're living in a house, a cabin, like a real small cabin on the peninsula of Lake Jean. And the reason we're doing this at Christmas time is because the story starts on Christmas Eve. So on Christmas
Like sleigh
Eve,
bells
Yeah.
right there.
yeah.
Nice.
So while kids are waiting for Santa, the family that year got their son a set of skates.
Roller skates or ice skates?
Ice
Okay.
skates. And, they lived along a lake, so, once the lake gets thick enough...
Yeah.
that the
Why would
kid
he
can-
want roller skates, Ryan?
Yeah, he's in the middle of the woods.
Maybe he wanted roller blades.
I mean,
In the
son, we
1800s?
really
Or
hate
skateboard.
you. We want you to try these roller skates on and check to see if you can make all 21 waterfalls. It's not dangerous enough. Let's do it with
In
roller
20 minutes.
On wheels.
20 minutes. We'll time you. Well,
Ice skates.
that Christmas Eve, the parents give him a set of ice skates, and they set it under the Christmas tree, and they tell him, listen, the lake isn't frozen enough. Don't go out. So the kid, like any kid, agrees, oh, of course, I'm not going to do this. So they all go to bed. The next thing you know, the parents are awoken to the sounds of the young boy screaming. Here, the young boy has put on the ice skates and gone on the ice
In the dark now.
in the dark
Oh.
and slipped through the ice and fallen through.
Oh.
So, like any parents, they run out there to save their son.
Sure.
And unfortunately, we can assume they all drown because a few days after Christmas, some hunters are in the area, and they find their footsteps going out into the lake, but there's no footsteps coming back. So they find the hole in the lake, and that's...
That old thing.
Did they ever find their bodies or anything?
We don't know. I don't know if they've ever found their bodies.
Yeah.
So, these people, the Getz family, they're all dead. And my problem with the story is if the scenario of events happened the way they say they happened,
Yeah.
how do we know that the kid was told not to go out on the lake that
Oh,
night?
yeah. How are we privy to some of that information?
I think a lot of people have modified the story to make it sound even more tragic.
Sounds like it.
Are there sightings there? Have people seen things?
There are sightings. So that's what we're getting to next. Fishermen on the lake have seen 3 faces looking back at them from under the waters.
Ooh, that's
Fishermen
creepy.
have also seen luminescence,
looking at a picture.
lights lighting up from underneath the lake.
I don't see any faces in that water, but...
Now today, the cabin, the Getz family cabin.
What would you do? What would you do if you're on a boat and you see 3 little faces, like ghost faces looking up at you?
Probably scream
Yeah.
and then make sure,
A little bit of a
look again. Yeah.
high-pitched squeal.
I'd probably shit my pants.
Yeah.
If I
Little
had
bit
an
of
oar,
drop
I
a
might
load.
stab it with my oar.
Ooh, that's a good... Yeah, would you fight back?
Yeah.
But what if it's not mad? What if it's just like sad?
Right. Then maybe I'd try and
I mean, yeah,
help
because
it.
it's
I
not
don't know.
Throw it a buoy or
Yeah.
a life vest.
Yeah.
Or what do you call it? Life preserver.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not 3 little faces. It'd be 1 little face and 2 big
And
faces.
2 adults. Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I would feel very sad, but I would also be worried because, you hear about water witches that try to lure you into the water
Oh,
to
yeah.
save them. And that when you go to try to save them, there's lore that, hands reach
Yep.
and try to pull you down with them.
They ask for, yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Do the dead want
They call it
saved?
banshees, or is that a banshees or something different?
Sirens?
Sirens.
Sirens,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Is the dead trying
Or some people
to
say
have
mermaids are
you-
like that.
Yeah.
Are they trying to get you to rescue them, or are they trying to have you join them?
Yeah.
Right.
So, that's my view.
Yeah.
Join us.
But the cabin stayed there empty for years. So local hunters would start using the cabin when they would hunt the area near Ricketts. And supposedly, objects would move in that cabin after the Getz family's untimely death. So the cabin stayed up for years, and there were lots of lore that this cabin on the Camper's Loop was haunted.
so, okay.
So
not only the lake.
but the cabin itself is haunted.
Crazy. Jinx, by the way.
Yeah. So, oh yeah.
So they would have had all their possessions in the house, right? If
Yeah,
they went and died.
I would assume that when they died, like the Christmas tree would have still been up, depending on the time frame. Like late 1800s is when you start getting Christmas trees.
Well, it's Christmas Eve, yeah.
And it's Christmas Eve, so like, how creepy would it have been to walk into a home and there's all the presents for the next day and no
the
kid,
families.
no
Well, if they
mom.
ran out, fire's probably still going.
I mean,
sad situation.
late 1800s, I mean, your heat was your fireplace.
I wonder if maybe perhaps, the mom or dad had a journal and maybe like one of the hunters found it and that's how they knew like about the ice skates.
I don't know.
That's
Sounds like
how
some
the story got
you know,
out.
cold water kills. We got in the picture.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
everything.
yeah. When we were there, Christy saw the sign.
Yeah.
This says cold water kills, and not that we're evil, but I chuckled a little bit.
Kind of fitting.
Because we're like, oh my God, yeah, cold water totally killed, and that totally fits with our story. So I was surprised I didn't find any lore about like Native Americans, with the waterfalls.
It's interesting. Nothing like that up there, right?
No, I haven't found anything. And so if our listeners or viewers have some lore of Ricketts Glen, all the waterfalls are either named after Robert Bruce Ricketts family members or Indian names. So, like, anytime you give something an Indian name, you think there's going to be an Indian legend or lore.
Something a little behind it.
Like in their largest waterfalls, 90 feet tall? Like
There are some big ones.
Ganaga or some, I think is the name of it.
Can't pronounce
I
any
don't
of them.
know. I have not been to the waterfalls for a while because last time I went there, I realized how out of shape I am.
It's a hike, man. It really is a hike.
It
and you
is.
have to, however far you go in, you've got to come back out.
Yeah. And I was telling...
And it's not easy hiking. It's up and down and muddy and slippery
Climbing.
and stones. And
Yep.
And where the parking lot is, you start at the top of the waterfalls, and that's where 90% of the people stop. And they
Right.
park there, and then they walk down the waterfalls, and then
because you can
walk
get to a
up.
couple pretty quick.
You get to a couple pretty quick, and then you'll walk back up. But that you're ending the hike like the worst way. So
Go back up.
I suggest instead of it being a 3.5 mile hike,
Listen up, Ricketts Glen. Steve has some ideas for you.
make a bigger parking area at the bottom of Kitchen Creek.
Let's do it.
And have people walk the full, I think it's like 7 miles. Because if you start at the very bottom and you walk up, it's the first half of that 7 miles is pretty easy. And then when you get to the waterfalls, every waterfall is coming into view as you round
Gives you motivation to keep going.
And then when you get to the top of the hill, then the way back to the car is all downhill.
Yeah, it's
it's
breeze.
so much easier.
Or let's have a shuttle on every half hour.
A shuttle?
$5 a person. I would pay that.
Are you talking like a ski tram, like that you
No,
sit on
like
a
a
bench?
shuttle bus.
Have you seen how? Yeah, you remember how narrow those trails are.
I meant like not on the roads, but yeah.
Maybe they need a road to cut through that virgin.
Oh, that's
forest.
really PennDOT. So we're talking to PennDOT here. Pennsylvania, we need the
Yeah.
new road.
We need a new road that follows Falls Trail.
Yeah.
For us older folk that still want to enjoy the trails.
And if you want to name it after the podcast, we'd be okay with that. Slice the Paranormal Highway.
Yeah. SOTP.
SOTP Road.
Or Slips of the Ricketts.
Ooh, I like that. Slips of the Ricketts.
Well, have you walked down those rocks? I mean, there's
have.
water coming over the wall.
Yeah, it's
rocks.
pretty slippery.
And if you're not watching your step, you're going to fall and break a hip.
Yeah.
So I love Ricketts Glen. I tell people that if you like hiking, hit up Ricketts Glen.
Go in the summer.
Go
I mean,
in the
it's supposed to
summer.
be beautiful in the winter, but people get trapped out there and stuff. So don't risk it.
But it's gorgeous. But I'm glad we did an episode on the haunted lore because I think a lot of people that are from this area totally know about the waterfalls, but they don't know about the Getz family.
Yeah.
They don't know about the ghost town of Ricketts.
Yeah.
I bet they'll look at Lake Jean a little differently now. They'll
Yeah.
be looking for faces.
Like if they're fishing, I'm going to be looking more for faces than I am freaking fish.
Now, are these sightings, do they seem to happen more around Christmas or on Christmas
Oh, good
Eve?
question.
I don't think so. I think it happens
Thank you,
year
Ryan.
round because I don't think there's a lot of ice fishing that's happening on Lake Jean.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm not a fisherman.
Well, it was not nice that day we were out there,
No.
and it was packed. It was.
Yeah.
There were still people everywhere. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah,
I was miserable. It was
Yeah,
cold.
no,
it was
one-
rainy.
It was like the most miserable
I got
weather
a
you could
tick
think
on
of.
me. I
Well,
was
not
like-
really the most, but
I think we all got ticks on us at
Probably.
the ghost town of Ricketts.
Tickets.
But, I mean,
tickets.
like I like Ricketts because of the history. Obviously, this Robert Bruce Ricketts was a Civil War vet. So
And the town basically just they logged themselves to death, right?
yeah, once they clear cutted the area, there was no need to have a logging town.
Yeah.
So they essentially clear out the town and go to the next logging site. And the fear was if we leave these buildings here, squatters are going to move in and just
Riff-raff.
take over the town. So they essentially burned the entire town down.
It's awesome.
To get rid of the town so that no one can move into it. So that's why when you go there, you're going to find just the stone foundation stones. You can
Yeah.
find wells.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the foundations.
Yeah, there's foundation stones all over the place.
It was beautiful up there. I really did enjoy it. That was a fun day too, even though it was cold. It was a lot
Right.
of fun.
Yeah, it was
I
fun.
enjoyed it.
And as many times I've been there, I've never done anything like that.
No.
I've never seen that pump house. I've never looked for the ghost tree or anything. So that's
No, and if we would have walked, if the weather would have been nice, we could have walked further and seen where the old railroad tracks were because it did have a railroad line. That's how they got the logs out of there.
makes sense.
You know, and the area was, kind of wet and swampy, so we didn't want to go too far off the beaten path.
Right.
But
Yeah, I drove down that road and I was like, am I going to be able to turn around?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could barely turn around.
And we did, like Austin Powers style.
We did.
We totally did. 32-point turn.
Got it.
You made it though. I'm
did.
proud of you.
Well, thank you.
So the problem with Ricketts Glen, obviously, is it's literally in the middle of the woods. It's in the middle of
Right.
nowhere.
Yeah.
So finding a pizza place, we were originally going to go to what, Slice of Heaven?
Originally
That's
we had planned
right.
on Slice of Heaven, but where was that?
That was like 16 miles away,
Too far.
Too
In the
far.
wrong direction for us that day.
in the wrong direction.
So we ended up
Because
going
again,
to
just for our listeners and viewers, what we also do is we test pizza from an area close to where we're investigating or talking about that day. So
Exactly.
just in case we didn't mention that at the top of the show.
We always forget to mention that. But yeah, we do try pizza out too as part of the show.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably a big part of our show.
So we're driving through.
I forget the name of the place.
We had no GPS. There was like
There's no
we were
GPS.
just trying to get to somewhere where we could actually look up a closer pizza place.
So at the bottom of the hill from Ricketts Glen, there's this like little convenience
Right.
store.
Or something.
General store.
General
Yeah.
store.
was-
So we stopped there.
Yeah, not like a gas station, like just a.
Christy and I walk in,
Yep.
and there's like four old guys, and we're like, "Where's the nearest pizza place?"
Yeah.
And
We found the right people because they gave us like what three.
yeah, they gave us a
Yeah.
couple places, but it was also one of those things where, like, in a horror movie, this is the point
Yeah.
where the people go in, they see four old guys, and they call their buddies and be like, "They're on Route
Yeah.
487."
I sent them to you.
I sent them to you.
There's one out in the
They
car.
did look at us a little funny when we walked in.
Yeah, well,
Kind of got the
totally.
stank eye.
Yeah, we get a little bit of stink eye, but they did give us a great place to go to.
They gave us a couple, but
They
yeah,
gave
we
us
picked
two, and we picked the one, of course, that we could get alcohol at.
right. We wanted a drink. It was called Crooked Creek Country
was
Kitchen.
cold.
Crooked Creek Country Kitchen.
Oh, yeah, we like the name too. That's another reason we picked that one.
It was
Yeah.
good. And it wasn't too far from there. It was only like a mile or two down the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm real close.
We found it without GPS, I think, even.
Yeah, we even had to wait like 25 minutes, half an hour to
Oh,
get
yeah,
in.
because they opened at noon or whatever.
Yeah, so don't go there at 11:30 like us.
But again, we're in the middle of nowhere, and there is a line of people waiting to get in this place at noon. It was
Correct.
ridiculous.
Now, was that a Saturday or a Sunday that we went?
That was a Sunday.
That was a Sunday. So, yeah.
So luckily it was open on a Sunday. But pizza was awesome. Let's see what we gave it for reviews. Actually, we took a picture of this too. I took a picture of their, or you did, Steve.
I was to say we have a picture of
Their
their
peel.
sign and their pizza
Crooked Creek Country Kitchen Peel.
pizza paddle. What would that be called? Is that
I think they're peels, but it could be called a paddle. No? I'll look it up for next episode.
I would call it a paddle.
Well, we really ought to know if we're pizza.
Yeah, we should know
All right,
that.
I'm just going to look it up right now.
Yeah.
We should know what the hell they're called because
Yeah. We're slacking.
we're pizza aficionados.
It's called a pizza peel.
A peel.
Yeah.
So
How do you spell it?
Crooked Crooked Creek Country Kitchen. Here we go. Deep dish style was suggested by the waitress over the normal thin crust. We were going to go with normal thin crust.
We were.
Because that is their regular. But waitress said she liked the deep dish, so we went deep dish, and we loved it. Steve gave it a 4.25 out of 5. That's high rating.
Really good rating.
Praise from Steve. He says, and I quote, excellent habit of sauce. Excellent habit of sauce.
Habit?
I take back
You
the quote.
probably wrote it down.
I take back the quote. I think my
He might not have said habit of sauce.
I think he did. I think my iPhone might have corrected that. Excellent something of sauce.
Amount.
I would say amount.
Let's go amount of sauce. I take back that quote. Sorry. Cheese goes all the way to the crust, which is something we love. Dough was perfect. Soft but crisped from the brick oven. Oh, yeah, brick oven.
Yeah, it was
that's
a brick
right.
oven.
Brick oven, deep dish, Crooked Creek Country Kitchen.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
This place was cool, though, too, right?
Yeah.
Drinks were good.
We like the drinks. Yeah.
Yeah, atmosphere was kind of, there was dead stuff everywhere.
Well, that's the
stuff
really big
everywhere.
one, right?
Stuffed dead stuff everywhere.
Like where they
What?
do line dancing.
It was
That's-
huge.
Yeah.
They had a nice big stage,
Yeah.
and they had a Frank Zappa poster.
That's right, they did.
Which was like out in the middle of nowhere. I'm expecting, Hank Williams Sr. But when I saw Frank Zappa, I'm like, they can't be all that bad.
Right. Got a couple good ones out here.
And that was hanging in the lovely room of death?
No, we were in the lovely room of death. That was in the room with the
The
stage.
stage. Okay.
And we definitely are the oddballs out wherever we go, but they were very nice. Everybody's very nice to us
Very
there.
nice.
Very accepting of us.
We did tag some stickers there too.
Yes.
Definitely on
Yeah, I
the-
think I have a picture of that too. Hold
Yeah,
on.
we had, they had towel dispensers in the bathrooms.
Right.
And I was like, oh, they allow stickers. So, we don't want to, graffiti a place.
Yeah, we're never the first people to put a sticker somewhere.
But we will totally add.
But if there's stickers on it, we're totally
Yeah.
shoving one on there.
Fair game.
Yeah. And we even, I even tagged their, I was so impressed they had a cigarette machine.
There was like 2 places we found that day that had cigarette machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
day of cigarette machines,
It was
which I thought
weird.
were outlawed.
We're in the middle of nowhere. That's why.
Middle of nowhere.
They got to
PA.
drive 10, 15 minutes just to find cigarettes.
If you're 12 years old and you need cigarettes, go to Crooked Creek.
Go to the bar.
Nice,
kitchen.
Steve.
Wait till now.
Good advice.
You know,
We're going to edit that out now. Kids, do not
Do not do that.
do not go buy the cigarettes.
Uncle Steve is bad at
have your aunt buy them for you.
Yes, like we did.
Christy gave it, and moving on. Christy gave it a 4.0 out of 5. Again, big score for you.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
Like the crispy crust at the edge and how the cheese is crisped into the crust.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about like a pan pizza is when the cheese kind of burns on the edges
On
and
the
gets
edge.
kind of crispy. And it had a fair amount of that, which I really enjoyed. And sauce was good. It was overall just, really good pizza.
And you said good bake on the pizza.
Yeah, it was perfect. Perfectly done.
Yeah.
I was
What'd you
impressed.
say?
I was worried because
Yeah, you're
again,
a thin crust
we have
kind of
to.
guy.
Typically, I like it when it's
Yeah.
crispy and whatnot. But this was crispy for being thick. It was. I gave it a 3.75 out of 5. The brick oven helped this pizza. I think if it was in a regular oven, I don't think the cook would have been the same.
Yeah.
So I think because it was deep dish in the brick oven is why I liked it.
But it wasn't like super deep dish either, like not like Chicago
No,
style.
It
was,
wasn't like that thick.
No.
It was,
more like an inch or so.
Yeah.
it was
That's
like a
good.
regular pizza to me. Mm-hmm. You know, what you'd get from like Domino's, like thickness wise.
Right.
Oh, really?
Or maybe
A
Pizza
little,
Hut.
a little.
was
More
gonna
like
say
that.
thicker.
Like when I think deep dish, I think of something that's substantially thick.
Right.
You know, almost like to the level of like a Sicilian.
This wasn't that big.
No.
It wasn't that big.
But it was like in the medium. It was a deep dish.
It was like as if a Sicilian and a regular had a baby.
Right. And it's in the middle of those two.
Right.
Oh, okay.
That's the way to go. Great tasting slice. I love the sauce, right? Soft and crispy crust, deep dish style. Cheese was not consistent across my piece, but still tasted great. I'm a big cheese fan. You know that's my jam.
Yeah.
It could have 3 times the cheese and I would like it, but this one was, my piece was a little bit shady on the cheese. So I could have had a higher score, but overall, then we like to say if we like ghost or haunt this place. Ghost meaning we would go back, or ghost meaning we would never go back. Haunt meaning we would go back a lot. Steve?
It has a room of death. I would vote for haunting it.
Good answer. Christy?
Of course I'd haunt it.
I would haunt it just because you get to eat good pizza with dead stuff everywhere. right? There's
Well,
so
of
many
course.
dead animals. There was so many dead animals.
Yeah, I'm all about the dead animals, you know.
It was
I mean,
everywhere.
Don't look at me like that.
I know. I kind of gave you a scared look there. Sorry.
I think we already know.
Like, come on. You know.
Do you do taxidermy?
I do not, but I have quite a few taxidermied things at my house.
Well, I'm sure you do.
But my wife does not allow me to bring them into the house, so I have an
Anymore.
art studio where all the dead things are
Not
stored.
attached to the house.
Yeah,
Dead things,
so
Mikey,
I'm
dead
not
things.
attached. I have my own little, like, Igor's tent, you know. Like
Yeah.
Hypothetically, you do.
No, I
Oh, okay.
I have, like, taxidermied alligators and dead sharks.
The FBI is coming for him one day.
No, it's all
happening.
legal.
Okay.
You know, I'm not like, you know, Robert Kennedy Jr., who's cutting up a whale
Leave a
head
bear in the Central Park.
and taking it home or putting a bear in Central Park. I'm not doing all that.
Fair
I'm getting
enough.
my stuff legally. So you have to be very careful because there's so many things you're not allowed to have legally. You have to be even more so, you know, cognizant of the types of things you collect.
Well, I'm glad you're aware of that stuff.
I am. Yeah.
And on that note,
Would you
is there
haunt
anything
it
else?
or?
I would haunt that place just because of the dead stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
The
you
pizza
did
was
say.
good too. The pizza was good. It had drinks.
Drinks
I mean,
were
I'm in.
good.
Pizza, drinks. I'm
The
in.
wait staff was nice. I mean,
Very nice.
There was nothing
Lots
there.
of elbow room. Like it wasn't.
Yeah, there was
You know,
like our table wasn't like scrunched up with other tables.
no, that was very nice.
It felt
And-
comfortable.
Out
And
in
if
the
you like
middle of
line
nowhere.
dancing, apparently Wednesday nights.
I
right?
do not like line dancing.
Oh, you're going. Don't
You're
don't
going.
humbug me.
I would go just to see Steve do that.
I would too.
Great, you know.
It's a date.
I'm telling you, whenever I dance, people are gonna call the ambulance because they're gonna think I'm having an epileptic seizure. But
Oh man,
I'm all for it. You know,
we'll give it a shot.
that's right.
Post it on our.
Yeah, we'll make sure to
Socials
post it
if
on
we
our
do.
social.
Oh yeah.
And on that, if you like what we're doing, please like and comment. Comments do mean a lot to us. Really like the messages we get from people and responding to people. So
Yeah, it
it's
really
something
lets
cool.
us know that you enjoy what we're doing, and so just join
Or
us.
let me know if I'm missing some of the history. Maybe you know more than I do.
Yeah,
True story.
Because you never know, like the local lore of a place, they might have more information than
Right.
I can get.
We love it.
You know, and I'm open to it. I do not mind being corrected. So by all means, get on there, correct me in the comments.
Yeah, or if there's something you think we should be doing or someplace we should be
Yeah.
going, let us know.
again, suggestions for our ghost name too. We still
We still didn't do that. We
still
gotta
need
name our
to-
ghost.
name our ghost.
People
so,
love the ghost.
Yeah, He's
Name
wearing our
'em.
little Santa hat. So yeah, and I guess just if you're craving a slice of the paranormal, join us next time.
There you go.
Sounds good.
This podcast was produced by Stone State Entertainment.